Storytelling in film. Where to begin, what to do, and how to write it. It's a very simple yet quite complex situation, so I'll try to help you all understand how to get your stories out and hope that you enjoy the process. Before we actually start, we need to understand how stories were communicated. And what better way to do than to start at the very beginning? It's a very good place to start. Well, long time ago, before anyone could actually communicate by words, we actually did communicate by visuals. And when I'm talking about visuals, I talk about cave paintings. 35,000 years BC, the caves of Chauvet was one of the earliest sign of storytelling. On walls, ancient cavemen actually painted diagrams, pictures of bison and things that they hunted. And these tell sort of a narrative. It's a primitive way, but it was one of the earliest form of evidence that we actually were telling stories. And then fast forward to 5000 BC, more civilized arena, to Egypt and the pyramids and the work of hieroglyphics. These drawings on walls of the caves, the inner sanctum of the pyramid, or even on papyrus, began to see an evolution of storytelling, from shapes to lines to diagrams. These form context and a beginning of a visual language. Now, once visual language started to evolve and words started to come out, as early as ancient tribes that started to speak. 1800 BC, the ancient Cherokee tribe were one of the first recorded tribal people that used verbal communication to tell a story, and it spread from one person to another person, another village to another village. And as early as 1000 BC, in the civilization of Greece, people started to tell stories of ghosts, monsters, heroes, and their quests, also known as Greek mythology. These ancient Greece, the stories that came up from that time, are some of the foundations of some of the stories that we know today. And when we started to write things, alphabets, lines, when written language was slowly becoming a norm, as early as 2000 BC, whereby the first form of storytelling of communication started to occur, the Bible was one of the first samples of storytelling, telling great deeds of prophets, miracles. The Bible, especially the book of Job, was one of the first earliest known historical artifacts that actually had stories of people doing good deeds, or maybe reporting things about people doing bad deeds itself. And furthermore, in 1600, this particular playwright by the name of William Shakespeare, he started to write stories in a more structured manner, whereby he split certain scenes, certain acts. He gave characters background, things to say, things to do, and he published many works as we now know it, from Macbeth, Julius Caesar, Taming the Shrew, Romeo and Juliet, just to name a few. So these stories floated around in the past before, but what about now? How are stories communicated today? Well, we communicate stories in many ways. We communicate through our iPhones, to our handphones. We communicate to our iPads, through television medium comes through our TV, streaming services, radios, our mobile devices, through messaging, through TikTok, to Instagram, things like that. Each time we post a picture, we're telling a story. Each time we text someone that we're doing something, we are actually telling a story. So story evolution has come full circle from as early as the ancients, from walls, cave paintings, all the way to digital devices today. Do you know that every day, each and every one of us, including you, we are constantly telling stories? When you go home and your parents ask you, how was your day? And you reply, okay, it's fine. Today I learned something. Today I did something. You are actually relaying a story. When you gather around with your friends to drink coffee or to have a gathering or party or dinner, you guys are talking with each other. You are communicating. You are telling stories to one another. But that's fine. But now we're going to talk about how we're going to create a story for maybe a short film. Specifically, how do you start? Where do you begin? Well, step one, and a few things you need to know. Research for a story. Prepare things. You need an arsenal of experiences, images, sight, sounds, and smells. Be observant. Look around you. Go out to the world. See life. Don't just walk things and just ignore them. Look at things as mundane as it may be. Sometimes things can just come right in front of you and inspire you. Explore the world. You have a phone that can take pictures. Take pictures. Take pictures of the birds, buses, people sitting on a bench. Sometimes these things tell you a story. Go out and see the movies. Go out and see TV shows. See other people's works. Sometimes they may inspire you. Listen to people when you are at a gathering. Talk to them. They have stories to tell you. You have stories to tell them. Sometimes their stories can inspire you to mix something that you have and you merge a hybrid story of yourself. Hear what they have to say. Listen to your surroundings. And sometimes you may never know. You may listen to something that's very important that can give you an inspiration. Read everything. Get your hands on anything that you can read. Newspaper articles, book articles, magazine articles. Be informed. I feel that sometimes we don't read enough. We just look at the headlines and then we move on. Read. Sometimes you never know. A small article from a small magazine can inspire you to write a fantastic story for film. Keep a journal. As ancient as it may sound, sometimes having a small notebook whereby you can quickly write something down is better. Record everything that is interesting to you. You can either record it on a book, which this is my suggestion to you, or you can record it on an electronic tablet or maybe your phone. It's like a personal Bible of collection of observational things, skills, items, quirky things that's happening around you. And sometimes it can be used for a last minute detail. A spark can just happen anytime. And keep track. It helps to keep track of any inspirational ideas that you may have. So once you have all those things to prep, what's next? What do you do next? I'm going to share with you some steps to help to bring those things together and then move forward to create a story, especially if you want to create a story for a visual medium like film. Well, step one, you need to tell yourself, what is your story about? You need to know what is it about. If you do not know what is it about, how can your audience know what is it about? Normally, in basic term, your story is always about someone or something that is trying to achieve something or get something. Wonderful characters from films like Superman, Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker, John McClane, the Joker, James Bond, Darth Vader, Captain Jack Sparrow. Each and every one of these characters, they want something in the story. And in order for them to achieve it, they must go through a lot of obstacles. They must have difficulty in getting it. For example, Ellen Ripley in Aliens.
away from her, you bitch!
She wants the people to leave the planet, but the alien queen is stopping them. So you must put an obstacle in front of your main character. Then it becomes dramatic. Now it sounds simple, but there's more to it. Okay, you also need to decide, very importantly, the character that you have created. Do they succeed? Does this character succeed in his or her quest? You have the power and you have the choice how you want to finish your story. Now that is just the helicopter view of it. Now let's go on to who this story is about. You need to find a way to create your character. Who is this person? You can create one person in that film, single characters. This particular story will focus on that one character and his or her goal, his or her need, and we, the audience, will follow whether that person will succeed or not. Strong films like Indiana Jones talks about one character per se. It is very easy to spot. You can also write two characters. Sometimes these two characters are opposite each other. One is calm, one is hot-headed, one is tall, one is short. And they will not get along at the very beginning, but later they will get along. This is what we call the buddy-buddy syndrome. They may bicker, they may laugh, but you find that they will create conversations whereby we ourselves will know how they want to take care of it. And it's also a good place to tell the audience how the story is going. When they're talking amongst themselves, we know what's going on. You can also write about an ensemble cast. This is basically a story whereby you have more than two characters, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 10, or in this particular case, you may have a film that has 11. The film Ocean's 11 has an ensemble cast, but it focused only primarily on one or two, but almost everyone in that film has screen time. And the story itself must still serve the same basic purpose. They must want something, and there must be an obstacle to block them from wanting something. Like for example, in Ocean's 11, it's a bank robbery. They want to rob something, a vault full of money. Now, once you decide who you want to talk about, whether it's one person, two people, or many people like an ensemble cast, then you need to talk about the purpose, your character's purpose, and that's the next step. Step 3. The character that you are going to create, you need to create a character whereby the audience can root for that person to succeed. It's good if you have a character that is an underdog, someone at the very beginning of the story that has difficulty in doing certain things, and we want them to learn certain things. We want them to have the skills for them to succeed. And it's good that if you write the story whereby that person eventually wins, the audience will root for that person because we like that person and we want that person to win. But you can't make it so easy. You have to make the character seem lost, no hope. Then later on, at the very last moment, your character wins the day because he or she learned something in that journey. And that is exactly what most underdog stories are great, and they're good, and a lot of people like them.
I got him!
My name's Forrest Gump. People call me Forrest Gump.
You bow to no one.
Step 4. Write your stories and your characters to be surprising and unexpected. What do I mean by that? Well, Change it up. Don't make it too simple. Why must the prince save the princess? Why can't the princess save the prince? Why can't the hero lose the fight and then win another day? Turn your story upside down. Try something new. Take a conventional story which everyone expects and make it upside down. People love that. Step 5. Appeal to our emotions. So, what do I mean by that? Basically, if you can manage to write a story that has an emotional pull, if the story makes us angry, fearful for the character, disgusted of how this character is reacting, make us happy at the ending, or make us cry, or make us surprised that we never expect the ending to be like that, so on and so forth. If your story managed to pull emotions from us, then you've got a winning story. Emotional stories with characters help us, the audience, to recall deep memories of similar emotions. If we see someone that has lost maybe a loved one in the film, we can recall ourselves losing a loved one in our real life. Could be a parent, could be a friend, could be a pet. And with that connection, we are emotional and we will connect to that film more. Next step, keep it simple. I can't stress this enough. There is always an overemphasis of trying to cram too much in a film. Cramping too much is dangerous. If your character is doing something, just keep it simple, that person finish, and let the person win or lose. Don't add too many things for the person to do. You will try too hard to achieve that goal, and the audience will be confused as to which goal your main character wants to do. Don't overthink it. Keep it nice and simple. Just make it simple, simple, simple. The boy is basically trapped home alone, and there are two robbers coming to rob the house. He needs to protect the house, so he sets up a lot of traps. And then we see all the traps taking down the two robbers. That's it. It's as simple as that. Nothing complicated about it. The problem is that if you have the need to explain your story to your friends or to the audience, rather than showing them what the story is about, you're in really serious trouble. That means your story is not clear enough for the audience to consume. You need more explanation for it. Step 7. Once you've gotten your story, once you've gotten your characters, once you know what they are supposed to do, then you need to decide your whole story. What sort of genre does it fit into? What type of film it is? Is it a drama, a thriller? Is it a crime story? Is it a horror story? Is it a romance? Is it a documentary? Science fiction? Is it western? Is it a musical? So on and so forth. Now, not all films are typically in an envelope like a genre, but most of them are. That helps the audience to make a choice. It is very dangerous to actually write a story for a film that may not be genre specific. It's hard to market your film for your audience. If your film is sci-fi and people know that it's science fiction, you have the science fiction fans coming in to see your film. It's easier for them to buy the tickets because they know what they're getting themselves into. But you should not mislead them into something that the film is not. And that's where sometimes genre helps the filmmaker, because they can stick to roughly that same window and that world that they build, and they try not to overstep that boundary. Once you roughly know your characters and the world that you create in, how do you put them all down? How do you put them all down on paper especially? Well, how do you write it? You can write it down on an essay format, old school, like what you did in school. That's fine. You just write it down in a story. You can also write it down on point form in bullet point. If you are not very comfortable in writing a long story, you just want to write the actions, what happens next. Or if you are trained in film and script writing, you'll most probably want to take that and convert it into a proper script format and place it under a paradigm like a 3-act structure. And once you've done that, it doesn't mean that it's over. It's all about rewriting the process over and over again, cutting things that doesn't work, adding things that works. And it's a process in motion. And sometimes it seems that it will go on and on forever. But the golden rule that most screenwriters will do is that they will set themselves a target. For example, by the 5th time that I'm writing this script, we will have to lock it and shoot it. If not, some of these writers can write all the way to 30, 40 times and will never end. No story is perfect. No film is perfect. And the word perfection is created by us, you and me. What may seem like a perfect film to somebody may seem like a horrible film to the person that's sitting next to you. Because film, like music, like arts, is very subjective. We can kind of almost agree something is relatively good, almost agree that something is relatively bad. But we can't please everyone all the time. So don't let all these negative things stop you from writing your great story, and don't let that stop from allowing you to make your future good film. Because you must understand, you need to enjoy the process. And by enjoying the process, it means that first, overcome your fear. All ideas are good. There's really never a bad idea. And you never know that your bad idea may turn out to be a wonderful idea in the future.